Exciting. We're live on YouTube.
Yay. I was thinking of initially, you're sitting on $1 million and you don't even know it, and other insights for when life seems hard. But I was like, okay, that's a little too long. So I was like, okay, we'll just do with you're sitting on $1 million and you don't even know it. And why that saying is so important to me, the meaning that it has for me is my grandmother used to say it to me when I was a kid. And we're from the South. I mean, from Virginia, not the deep South here in the US, but, South enough. So we have all these sayings, tons of sayings. They just come out. And she used to say that to me when I was struggling with something. Either there was some boy that I wanted that didn't want me, that didn't like me back, or there was something, I had a problem at home or something. She would always say, "You're sitting on $1 million and you don't even know it." But I didn't know what she meant. And she had this great sense of humor. So as a kid, I thought she was talking about prostitution. So I thought it was funny. So I was like, oh my gosh, my grandma is telling me to go out and sell myself to make money. Seriously. And so it took a long time and seeing for myself about the principles that are behind the secret of everything, for me to understand what she was really saying, which is that everything that I thought that I needed to be okay was already within, but I couldn't see it. And so, and that I had power, wisdom, strength, everything already within, but I just couldn't see it, And I so wish she was still here physically with us so I could tell her, Grandma, I get it now. I get it. But hopefully, she's still looking over me, so she'll be looking and seeing that I get it. But I guess we could just go over my journey with the principles. So I hindsight is always 2020. And I know now that I was always searching for whatever I thought I needed to be okay. Like I didn't feel okay. So I was always the rule follower. I didn't want to break any rules. Always didn't want to get in trouble. And now I see that, that's because, in a way it seemed like I wasn't okay if I messed up. I did something wrong, got in trouble. So there was a whole bunch of stuff. I went ahead and did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. Went to college. I started off in engineering, then realized that wasn't for me. So I switched to doing counseling. And in the meantime, got married. And I can't exactly say when I first noticed it, but it was definitely early in my marriage. So 2002 was when I just started feeling this heaviness over my life. Like I was just sad all the time. And I don't know how to describe it really. It just felt awful. I felt irritated and frustrated just all the time because of anything. Money problems, mess in the house, and then, when you get married, two people coming together and you do things differently, and he wasn't doing things the way that I did things. So then I felt annoyed at that and irritated. And why can't he just do this, Yeah. And then 3 years after we got married, we had our first child. So now you're throwing children into the mix. Oh my gosh, the heaviness got worse because now got these kids. When we ended up having 4, and kids, they don't do what you tell them to do. So, it was just even more and more heaviness, more and more irritation. And on top of it all, I thought that I could, I was gonna say fix it, control myself. Because I thought, oh my gosh, this heaviness is coming from inside, then I should be able to get rid of it, for lack of a better word. So not only now am I trying to control everything outside of me so that I can get rid of this heaviness and to be quote unquote okay. I'm trying to control my husband, trying to control our finances, trying to control our kids, trying to control our house, and I'm trying to control myself and my thinking because I thought I had to fix all of this in order to be happy because I wasn't completely happy all the time. So for years, I was struggling with all of that. And then about 2013 was when I first heard about the principles. And at the time, I was a counselor. And so my first thought was, oh, okay, this is what I already know. Oh, let me backtrack. Actually, let me backtrack. Around 2007. We just had our second daughter, I think. And and so I was home with the kids. And it was a bad day. I don't know. I was frustrated. I had a 2-year-old and a newborn, and it was just a rough day. I just remember this. My husband comes home. I come down the stairs, and I can't remember. We got in an argument, and I just remember screaming at him, "You make me so mad!" And he just calmly said, "No, I can't make you mad. It was something like you're doing it to yourself or whatever." That did not help. But there was a part of it that I knew that yes, he was on to something. That I knew that me being mad was not coming from him. I didn't want to admit it. Of course not. No, I don't want to admit this. But I knew he was right. So again, that led to even me more trying to control myself, trying to fix myself. Because yes, if he or anybody can't cause me to be mad, then there must be something that I can fix inside, right? So then 2013, I first hear about the principles and I think, okay, this is a nice theory. It's similar to what I'm already doing. I was a cognitive counselor. So I knew that thoughts were important, but at the time it was, okay, so we can change our thinking. We need to change our thinking, be okay, to fix whatever. Something needed to be fixed, right? We're gonna start with thoughts. So I was like, okay, this is just right along. So I started saying it to like my clients and my husbands and I said husbands, oh my gosh, husband, I only have one. It's just thinking. Oh my gosh, I was like what I call it principaltizing like myself and like everyone else. It's just your thinking, right? And then the next year, I don't know how it happened. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, oh my gosh, this is not a theory. These principles are describing how life really works. It works from the inside out. And so at the time, that was all I had. I saw that. And so I got my own coaching. And, it, I've been on the slow train with this. It's taken me a while. So I saw more and I saw more, but I didn't get it. I guess holes were starting to be poked, but they got so much bigger recently and seeing things a lot more clearly. So see what happened next. That was 2013, 2014. Heaviness is still there. I'm getting my own coaching because I want to see more about this. So I'm looking in this direction for myself. But again, I'm still on this whole, it's just my thinking. So if it's just my thinking, then I can control whatever. But realizing I can't. I could not do it, but I didn't know that at the time. So the heaviness got even more. And at the time, it was like my husband and I were going in these cycles, and it happened like I could pinpoint it. Certain times of the year, we would be like, and having arguments, and it was just not fun. And then, I've got the kids and mess in the house and did not enjoy it. And then what really made a difference for me was 2017, January 2017. This is what I would say flipped the switch for me, I guess, made this bigger hole. We were going back to school after our holiday break, and we lived on campus. My husband's an educator. And so for the first two schools that he was at, we always lived on campus, like literally on campus, next door to the school. And kids had to be at school at 8:05. My husband was up early this morning. Our older daughter was already gone with him as well. And so I was home with the three youngest ones. And I'm trying to help the baby at the time. Well, she wasn't a baby because she was in pre-K. So she was four. And at 7:50 was when I realized that my son was still in bed. And he had to be at school at 8:05. And we lived right next door to the school. So, oh, wait a minute, I forgot. Yeah. I was already in my mood or my fit, completely irritable with the kids. It was just had been bad. So when I walked because I remember that night before, I thought, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to feel fine. All the irritableness, everything's going to be gone. I woke up. It wasn't. And then I walk into his room at 7:50 in the morning. He's still in bed. And I went off. I let him have it. Not a proud mommy moment, but at the time, that's just what came to me. Yelling, everything. So he finally gets up, he gets ready, and it's after 8:05 and we're walking to school. I'm walking the three kids to school. And I'm sure you can imagine how hard that moment was, to be walking with this crazy lady who's just yelled at you and was just horrible. So I take him to school and I'm walking back home. And I remember it as clear as day. In my spirit, I heard, Davida, your son could have gone to school, having behaved the same way he had, but he could have gone to school having experienced his mother's love instead of his mother's wrath. And what I got out of that was that how I was feeling was not coming from his behavior. Totally, totally, totally not coming from him. That it was only coming from inside, the inside out. Then that's how life works. And that's when I really got it. And it was like, wow. And I think that's the moment where I could see 100% life only works from the inside out. That how we experience life is only created through thought. And not the thoughts that we have, but thought as in the energy. Because we were created to think. That's what God created us to do. And I use God, that's just what I grew up with. But that has a whole new meaning now for me than how I was raised. I was raised in the church. So I was just used to saying God, but I see there's this energy behind life. There's this intelligence that's running the show. And we are a part of it. And we were created to think and have thoughts. And that's how we live life. Like everything is neutral. It just is. But how we experience it only comes from how we look at it, how we're thinking about it. And that's not something we can control. So that's when I first saw that it only works one way. And then the next year, last year, 2018, was when I saw that in addition to how life only works one way, right? Who we really are, as in a part of the intelligence and energy that's behind life. Like, I, there's these sayings like you'll hear a lot of people say, like, God's got your back, right? And I never knew what that meant until, well, actually, I have to backtrack because it's the same metaphor, but I saw it in I got two different things out of it. So last year, I was having a conversation with my friend George Carver, and I was not seeing clearly about something. I think I was feeling insecure about talking, about saying something, and I was saying something to him like, "I just need to be more careful. I need to change my words. I just because not knowing what to say has been something like this habitual thing for me all my life. Like making sure I want to say the right words." Um, and so, yeah, one day last year we were having this conversation. I was telling him how I was gauging what I was saying because I didn't want to say certain things, and he told me about this metaphor of a prism. So, like, if you're thinking about a prism and how light comes through, and then it comes out, and you've got a rainbow, right? Now, but it's the same light. It's the same source of light. It just looks different, but it's not different light. It's all one. It's just the same thing. And so we were talking about that in regards to thoughts and feelings. They're all the same. They just show up differently. And it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh. So I didn't have to like worry or freak out or whatever about what I was going to, I don't know. I got something out of that when I saw it. It's all the same thing, like, but we treat them differently. Like in one moment, I feel happy. And then another moment, I feel sad. So they can't be the same thing. I mean, in essence, they're not, they just feel different, but really they are. It's the same thing, just showing up differently. So that was major for me because I used to like I said, I didn't like how I felt, didn't like feeling or experiencing certain things. So I'd always try to fix it or change it so I didn't feel that way. But I realized I don't have to because, well, it's just how we were created. It's just how it works. And, thoughts are transitory. It changes from one moment to the next. So I don't know. It did something for me. And then I remember a couple of months after that, I can't remember what I was doing or how it came, but it hit me again, that same metaphor of the prism and the light coming through. That essence, that source of energy that's behind life, it's showing up in this world, in all of us. Different. We're all the same. We're all one, just showing up different. We're not our bodies, even though it feels like it. We're not these separate beings out here. We're just one source, just showing up differently in the world. And that was a game changer because I realized that that's why we treat people the way that we treat. That's why we treat ourselves, negatively. When we think that we are so separate, that when we're out here alone, but we're not separate. There is no separation between us and, I mean, I don't know, we're all one. I just saw it so clearly. And so then finally, and I'll say, it hit me. I was like, oh, that's what it means by God's got my back. Why wouldn't he? Because I'm part of him. It, I don't, so that was major for me. So I know now, like, when I'm not seeing clearly, it's only because I'm not seeing clearly in the moment that life, it's coming from the inside out. I'm thinking that something else is causing how I'm feeling or how I'm seeing, or because I'm forgetting that there is no separation. It's that and it all comes down to that for me now. And it was after I had that insight back in 2017 with my son that the heaviness went away and it's gone. And it doesn't mean that I haven't felt irritated or sad or angry. Hello, I do a lot. But the more that I look in this direction of how our minds work and who we really are, I'm finding that the irritation, the sadness, everything, it doesn't last as long. I mean, I still don't see clearly a lot, like every day, I go through it all the time. But I'm realizing more and more, none of that's okay too. Because I thought too that, oh my gosh, now once I see the principles, then oh my gosh, I am never ever going to get upset or be unhappy or irritable or whatever. And still I have to get this right. I have to understand this so that I never feel those negative feelings. So I never yell at my kids again, never do this or do that or whatever. But what I'm seeing is that is not the point. It's just the matter of seeing how life really works, because that's where the freedom is. So when life gets hard, it's just feeling hard because I'm not seeing clearly in a moment. Those are just, to me now, it's just my clue, my sign that, wait a minute, I'm just not seeing clearly. I'm thinking, it seems like to me that whatever it is causing me to feel how I feel, or I feel, or I am alone in this world, like separate. But yeah, I mean, so much of all of the struggle and everything I've been going through, I realize it's just innocently being created through my mind just working, you know? And the thought goggles. I love that phrase. Jamie Smart, I heard it when we were in coaching, and I was like, oh, I got it. It's just the thought goggles that I'm wearing. I remember that day when I cried for like 2 hours. I was like, oh my gosh, we all have to get these goggles on. And that's just how the world looks to us. But then the goggles change and then everything looks different. I mean, kids, we all get this from birth, but then something happens and then we learn differently. Like, we're born with this. This is our nature. So I I, I started working in schools because I wanted to do coaching in school and get some experience working in education. So I started subbing, and but once I started subbing, I realized that I like teaching. So I never thought I would. And then I got put in like the class with the pre-kindergartners. I never thought I would like working with little kids. I always wanted to work with adults. But oh my gosh, these kids are like, it's so cool. And so so I'm working in pre-kindergarten class now. And just to see, I can see it that they've got this wisdom already inside them. We all do, we're born with it. This connection, like I said, we're not separated. So this divine intelligence that's running the show is in all of us, whether we see it or we don't, right? So these little kids, oh my gosh, they keep coming up to me, Miss Arnold, he said this, she did this. And before seeing the principles, I could not do this. Mm-mm. I would have been so irritable. No, I couldn't be a teacher. You know what I'm saying? I would have been like, okay, you're going to off. Like, just, but now that I know what is really going on, I can just step back and I'm like, okay, I don't say anything. Because you know why? What's happening the next minute? They're holding hands. They're best friends again. Why? Just how it works. It's just, but when we don't know that, we're thinking, oh my gosh, that is causing me to feel a certain way, then, then we want to fix it, or so when I'm looking at these kids and I can just see all of the principles at work, at play, and they don't know it per se in those terms, but it's there. That's like the coolest thing. And so now, I get to catch it a little quicker and I'll catch what's going on. Sometimes I don't. Like, my little one is 7, put me through the ringer. And we're at the end of the school year. It took this whole school year and I didn't get it till like Monday. We are at a new school now. We have a commute, a 30-minute commute. We're not used to that. Kids still aren't used to that. So the morning times are rough. My little girl does not like it at all. And so we have had some rough mornings, um, major irritation, anger, all of it. I mean, I knew where it was coming from. I knew it was coming from thought in, in the moment, but it took till this week to really, 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 really get it. Like, seriously, I went through this whole week. I was like kicking myself, like, oh my gosh, how could I? Well, I'm human, so that's why I missed it. But it clicked this week. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking that it seems like her anger, her frustration or whatever is what's causing my morning to be so hard and so miserable. But it's not, And in those moments, and I realize that in those moments where I'm struggling with her, trying to get her up, I'm not by myself. I'm not this separate thing. I can look towards the fact that I am a part of the intelligence behind life. And that same intelligence that makes the sun rise, that makes the sun set, and that makes the seasons, and can help me in whatever situation. So I just sometimes forget to go to that place internally. And it hit me Monday. It was like, oh my gosh, that's what I was doing. I forgot. And so even with her, my little one, I don't know if that made sense, but that's what I'm seeing. And that's what helps me when life seems hard. Yeah, life definitely seems hard sometimes, but it just, I don't know, everything is neutral. It's until, you know, we just innocently give it meaning through thought. Um, you know, oh, the other day I had this great insight. Well, it helped me. It's great for me. And I can't remember what was I going through, but something came up, and I realized that when I'm feeling, um, angry, or, oh, I know what it was. I don't know if my husband and I just had an argument or something. And I realized that, part of it was like, okay, sometimes it seemed like there's a fork in the road, right? Where I could go in one direction towards all that ego-ness, the I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm right, he's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Or in the other direction of love, of peace. Seriously, for me, I see it, it's that it's that easy, just in the sense that you have to be willing to see things differently. Sometimes we want to hold on to how we're seeing things because sometimes we just don't know any differently. We just don't know that, yeah, that's how I'm feeling, but I can look towards another direction. So a lot of my, times I'll just, okay, God, help me to see this differently, right? And then one day, like 2 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, it hit me. I was like, all that ego-ness is like, and when I'm getting upset and I just want to be right or whatever, it's like I could have this picture of me as a little girl, like holding on to a balloon, like really tight, like I don't want to let go of this balloon. I don't want to let go because I know I'm right, or blah, 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 or whatever. And then, so it's about, if you let go of that balloon, and then just going back to what we really are, right? This love, place love. But here's the catch: the balloon is imaginary. So that's what it looks like to me now, like holding on to this imaginary balloon, right? All the stress, the anxiety, the anger, or whatever, and this fear of letting go, because that's just how I'm used to feeling, whatever. But it's all made up because that's what our minds do. I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling.
Not at all. No, it's been really, really, really good. Really good. What came to my mind was that your grandmother, it's interesting, isn't it, that your grandmother obviously knew some of this stuff, at least. She had some idea about how things worked from what she was saying to you. And yet when we're little, because I remember my grandfather was the same, and yet I was telling myself all sorts of other things, even though they were trying to get us to see what we were missing. And we just missed it somehow because we're listening to everything else, everything everybody else is saying, I guess, and believing those stories. not understanding what it was that these wise people were telling us.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, she didn't know what the principles were. But like I said, we're born with wisdom already inside of us. We're born with everything, had everything so it's already there, you know? And yeah, it came out and I didn't see it. I mean, it took me having to go through my messes in life, but it's okay. I see it now. It's okay. It's all good. Really, it really is. I mean, life,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't feel good, but that doesn't mean that, that all it means really is just that's how I'm feeling in the moment. That's what I see now.
Yeah. And like you said, the reason it doesn't feel good is because we're telling ourselves it should be different, or we should be making
Yes.
it different.
Yes, absolutely. Because apparently where we are now is not okay. So now I need to get here to be okay. Like it's this whole I'll be happy when. I lived with that for like the longest time because I didn't see that it's okay to have and to feel negative feelings. Totally okay. It doesn't mean anything other than you're just feeling that feeling. And the feeling itself, it's made of the same thing as a quote unquote positive feeling. Really, they're the same thing. Why do we, you know,
But even calling it a negative feeling is a story anyway, isn't it? It's like,
hello?
who said it's negative?
Exactly. Because you know why? People like to go watch horror movies and get scared. So it's okay to feel it in that situation, but it's not okay to feel it in other situations.
And even you pay for it. You pay to go and feel those feelings. That's what gets me. It's like, I think that's so good. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I love the prism, the seeing it through the prism is such a good, that's lovely. It just reminded me of, I heard Michael Neal last week say that we are all different flavors of God,
Yeah.
which is a very similar sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We are. We're all connected. And I just know that when I'm like taking things personally or mad at or whatever, I treat like some it's just because I'm forgetting that, you know, we're all the same. Like I'm thinking that we're just these separate things out here and we're not.
Yeah. And what I also liked about your story is that that is showing that you don't have to get it all at once. That you can't make yourself get it, even though you do the trainings,
Mhm.
however much it logically or in your head, this is how life works. You really don't get it until you experience it.
Oh my
And you
gosh.
and you
Mhm.
can't make that experience happen.
And
You
I
can't
tried
make that
so
experience happen.
hard. Oh, I know. I tried so hard and I was beating myself up like so much because, oh my gosh, why am I not getting this? Or why can't I change this? Or can't. Mm-mm, no. But, I love, yeah, it's just that attachment, to how we're thinking. And then realizing that, oh my gosh, I could see things differently if I'm willing to, if I'm willing to let myself, you
Yeah.
know?
It's just sort of experimenting with, well, I wonder if I looked at it that way, or if I could see something different, even just that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because you can't make yourself see it differently.
No, but I think you can be open to it.
Hmm.
And I think that's why that metaphor came to me about the balloon, being willing to let go.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah. So, because even though, you know, this happened or they did this to me or whatever, I can still let go of the balloon.
And what about sharing it with you said that you were trying to tell everybody else that
Yeah.
it's just thought and it's just thought when you first knew about it.
Yeah.
How do you share this with your family, with your husband and your children and so on now, or don't you?
Um, let's see. I do, but not directly, I guess. Like, I don't say the three principles anymore. I don't, yeah. But I know now that even though I might not say it, it doesn't mean I'm not talking about them because they are here. They are always in flow. They're always working, right? And that made a big difference for me to real. So I can point to it, right? But it's not about these three things per se. They're just always in play. So, you know, I'll s- I do. I'll have talks with my kids, especially if something comes up and they get upset, and I just gently remind them about who they really are. Like, so, telling them when you're going through this, well, where can you go, for help or whatever, and God. And technically, it's not like technically going. It's there within, but it's pointing in to help get back to that mm, place, that sense. Like, to me, like, when we hear in the three P's community about it's like looking for a feeling. For me, that feeling is that feeling when I am feeling guidance, the divine guidance. It's always there. It's always guiding. It's just we forget it. We don't see it. To me, that's what the feeling is about. And I can get into that place, or let myself get there. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, it's not like we ever leave, but in so many cases, I don't see it. I'm not feeling it, and then I can just take a minute, quiet myself down, and just like, oh, I was changing the lights in my van a couple of months ago. Like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. Like, three lights went out, and I didn't want to take it into the shop because they were going to charge an arm and a leg just to change some light bulbs. And I was like, no, I'm doing this myself. So I looked up YouTube videos of how to do it, and I got like two done, and I was like feeling pretty good about myself. And then I get to like the front ones, and I could not get the lights out. I mean, they were stuck, and I could not get my hand down and twist to turn. And I'd gone through all of this, and I just could feel the anxiety welling up and everything. And I was like, I had to take a moment just to step back and just like, God, help me, show me what I need to do. And literally, sure enough, I put my hand back in, and and it opened and it twisted like that. I mean, that we're not separate. We've got it, everything. It's already there. We just have, be willing to look towards it, I guess. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that experience all the time now, like that. But also it must make a difference to your children and to your husband and to your relationship just from you being different.
I hope so. They don't tell me, but I hope so. Because for real, when I was feeling that heaviness, oh no, it wasn't fun. The kids didn't like being around me. Like I said, my husband and I were going through these cycles, like seriously, like, and that to have your kids not be around you is not cool. But now, oh my gosh, things are so different.
Mm.
We have a great relationship, family relationship. The kids are like, we love being around each other, and the cycles of conflict with my husband have gone away. I mean, it's not to say that we don't ever have arguments. We absolutely do. They just don't last as long now. You know what I'm saying? We can quickly. I mean, I don't take things as personally as much as I used to, because I know that what is going on is, hello, they're just thinking too. So this is just how things are showing up for them. So I don't. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot better now. I mean, the family, dynamic is so much better now.
And so tell me a bit more about this, about what your grandmother used to say and about how you see what that means now.
Yes, it means that how I like to call this, we are already equipped by design. We were designed to handle, I mean, anything that we go through, everything. I mean, it's already within. Just sometimes we don't know it, we don't see it. Uh-oh, can't hear you.
I accidentally switched myself off and not back on again. So people might be wondering what that's got to do with money. How's that got anything to do with money?
Well, okay, so the $1,000,000, it's just a metaphor. You can substitute that for whatever you think that you need to be okay. I mean, that was just what she used. I don't know, she probably heard that somewhere else herself, but it really is just a metaphor for whenever we think that there is something out there that we don't have that we need to get to be okay. So
if it was money, so if people, I mean, there's plenty of people who think they do need money to be okay, right?
Yeah. But that's not where your okayness comes from. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And I can speak to that personally. I mean, my thing have not changed. I still go through my money issues and everything. So it's like things haven't changed, but everything has changed. Because whether you have money, you don't have money, it doesn't define who you are. You are a part of, this energy that's behind life. That's who you really are. You're not your body. You're not your bank account.
And what is money anyway, other than
made up
energy?
Yeah, and it's made up. I mean, sorry. We need it for sure. But to me, it's like the same thing. Anything else? If something's going on, okay, I go back to that centered place. All right, God, help me through this. What do I need to see? And then, whatever. And things just shift. I mean, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just.
I had earlier in the week. No, it must have been Saturday, I think. Anyway, I had another of these sessions to do in the afternoon. And I was busy working on the computer in the morning, sending out messages about what's happening and doing all the stuff to prepare for it and so on. And I suddenly noticed that my laptop wasn't charging. And I thought, that's strange. It's plugged in. The light isn't on. It's not charging. So I checked all the connections and they were all fine. And I'm like, oh my goodness, something's gone wrong with the charger. It's only a month old, but maybe it's a dud one. And so I tried plugging it into another socket in the same room, and still it doesn't work. And I'm like, oh no. So luckily I keep a spare just in case for things like this, right? So I go and get the spare, and the spare doesn't work either. And I'm like, oh my God, this afternoon I have to do another session. I'm going to have no laptop. I left my spare computer in France because I thought I wasn't going to be staying here. I thought I was going back to France to do this. So I've got no spare computer. My friend who I'm staying with doesn't have a computer either. And I have no way to charge this. And I'm thinking, and so the thoughts are starting to come, and I'm like, no, the same thing. I know. Just show me what I need to do, just it'll be fine. I'll just remember. I just won't take any notice of all this thinking because I know it'll be fine. Whatever happens, even if I can't do it, I can't do it. I can do it on my phone, and then I can't send out all the information, but I'll find some way through. And even that part of me was going, oh, you need to get on a boat and go back to France, and you need to do this. And I'm like, well, maybe that's an option. Yeah. And but maybe there's something else that I haven't even thought of yet. Maybe what is it that I haven't seen yet? Okay. And so about 3 hours I was doing this, and the battery is going down and down and down. And I'm like, oh, and I'm saving everything to the cloud so that if I do get on another computer, it's there somewhere, And then and then I thought, my phone is running out of charge too. I better charge that up. So I plugged it in and that didn't work either. And I'm like, hang on a minute. There's definitely something wrong. This must be the socket. If the phone isn't working, charging, this is a different charger altogether. This must be the socket. And if the other socket in the room isn't working either, it must be that the whole circuit has gone. The whole circuit has blown in the house, right? So I went and said to my friend, I think the circuit's gone to that room. And so she went and checked the fuses, and it had blown. 3 hours of, but there you go. See, so I was open to seeing something different that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Something I knew there had to be something else. And I was like, yeah, I'll just be open to there's going to be there's something else. And there was completely, it hadn't occurred to me.
Wow.
But it's so much fun, isn't it?
It is. Like, okay, so go ahead.
If you don't get all, if you don't get all up in it, if you just like, I wonder what this is about then. And that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have another cool example. So last year I was subbing in fourth grade, and I think it was the math section, because the teacher had left a worksheet for the kids to do. And towards the end of the session, I noticed to the end of the class, this one little boy, he was crying, like bawling, and straight up like got out of his desk, sat on the floor, he's crying. The other kids, they're not paying him any mind, right? They're used to it, apparently, like did it before, whatever, I guess. I don't know. But I was like starting to freak out, because I'm like, this is the first time it's happened with me. What do I do? This little boy is on the floor crying. And then it's the end of class, so they're transitioning back to their other room. And I'm like, all that stress is coming. Like, what do I do? And then it hit. Okay, first of all, me getting all up into that was not going to help. Into when I say that, the stress, the feelings, because why? Thought in the moment. That's what, so I got myself centered, and then it hit me what to do. Like, God, show me what I need to do. And then it hit. Go get the assistant. So I got the assistant. I said, I need to go talk to him. Can you watch the class? So I took him outside, and it was a hot day, like burning. It was hot. But I didn't have anywhere else to go. It's like, we're going to go outside. I have to talk to this little boy. So I took him outside, and we sit outside. First few minutes, I'm just like, I'm chilling, just talking about the weather. And then I'm like, dude, what's going on? What are the tears for? And he said, that because he couldn't do the worksheet, then that must mean that he's stupid.
Oh.
And I just was like, we're going to get straight to the truth here. I was like, you were born to think. That's what God created our brains to do. But just because we have the thought, that doesn't mean that's just who we are. That just means that's just what your brain is thinking in the moment. That's all. It doesn't mean that. That's not who you really are. And so we talked about that for a little bit more. You know what happened? Tears dried up. He starts joking and talking about something else. And we just go on back to class. Mm. But if I had gotten caught up into my feelings and the stress that I was feeling, and taken that on as, real, I guess, or coming from him or whatever, oh my gosh, I don't even know what would happen. But again, we are a part of, the intelligence that's running the show. So
yeah. And just imagine what a big difference that's going to have made to that little boy. That's fantastic. So you're teaching now. Are you doing any coaching outside of school, or are you just coaching in school at the minute?
So I don't mean just. Right, no worries. So right now I'm teaching and pursuing a career in education as well. I don't do any official quote unquote coaching as like a coaching role in the school, but you know what I'm saying? The coaching skills are transferable.
Absolutely.
And that's what I saw. for myself. Like I don't always have to sit in a session, a one-to-one session, to be able to help people. So that's another thing, what reason why I like teaching as well. So, but outside of teaching, yes, I still see clients. I love working one-on-one. So yes, I do still coach.
And you do that in person, or you do it online, or you do both?
You know, I do both. I'm open to both, but most people like doing online, like just like how we're doing now.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
super convenient and it's just as effective and even more, really more efficient because you don't have to travel. So that's mostly how I work with clients right now is
Okay.
online. But if they want to meet in person, we can do that.
And do you work with any particular age group, or do you work with anybody?
I work with anybody per se. I do. Age wise. I have a really fond interest now working with teachers. I would love to
Okay.
help more teachers not learn because it's already within us, but to see this more for themselves. Because I think that will help the young people. Because if the teacher is like the guide in the class, that's what sets the tone for the classroom. So I think if more and more teachers could see this for themselves, that would help our young people as well.
That's a fantastic story. I love your story.
Oh, thank you.
Really good to hear that. And in fact, the more people do comment on the video and the more questions they do ask, the more this gets out to even more people, because YouTube likes to see lots of people commenting and watching the video. And
Cool.
so that's been really, really good. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. This has been so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm sure we will be speaking again soon. And I'll let you know if there's any questions so that you can answer those too.
All right, awesome.
Thank you very much. And it's
Thank
lovely to hear
you.
from you.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye then.